There have long been rumors that there are dark forces residing in the Roman Colosseum. The ancient landmark, an emblem of the grandeur and brutality of ancient Rome, stands as one of the most fascinating and haunting historical sites in the world. Built between AD 72 and AD 80 under the emperors Vespasian and Titus, this architectural marvel was designed for spectacles including gladiatorial combat, wild animal hunts, and public executions, activities that undoubtedly imbued it with a dark history.
Even now, demonic forces hover here, feeding upon the psychic force of that one act.
The Colosseum, originally known as the Flavian Amphitheatre, stands as a monumental symbol of Roman architectural prowess and imperial grandeur. With its capacity to accommodate an estimated 50,000 to 80,000 spectators, this colossal structure served as a platform for the gruesome and barbaric public spectacles that were a hallmark of Roman entertainment. The gladiatorial games and other violent displays held within its walls were meticulously orchestrated to showcase Rome's military might and dominance over conquered lands. As crowds roared in approval at the sight of bloodshed and combat, the Colosseum stood as a physical manifestation of Roman power and control over both its subjects and enemies alike.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Gladiatorial games, the main events of the Colosseum, were elaborate displays of combat and cruelty, often resulting in the death of the participants. These fighters were trained in special schools, ludus gladiatorius, and categorized based on their fighting style and the weapons they used. A typical day at the Colosseum might start with animal hunts, venationes, in the morning, followed by public executions, noxi, at noon, and culminating with gladiatorial contests in the afternoon. The ferocity of these confrontations, paired with the crowd's fervor, contributed to an atmosphere charged with bloodlust and excitement. These weren't just fights. They were elaborate shows with diverse combatants, slaves, prisoners of war, even condemned criminals, trained to fight each other and wild animals like lions, tigers, and bears.
A gladiator and a slave's never a fair contest. Never.
The blood-soaked sand of the arena absorbed the agony and despair of countless fallen warriors, creating a potent breeding ground for darkness. There have been numerous reports of ghost sightings and unexplained phenomena at the Colosseum. Visitors and staff have claimed to see apparitions of gladiators wandering the corridors, hear the clashing of swords and the screams of the dying, and feel an overwhelming sense of dread and despair. Some people have even claimed to have felt pushes or physical touches from unknown entities. One of the most commonly reported sightings is that of a Roman gladiator. Visitors and nighttime security have reported seeing the ghostly figure of a gladiator, often described as appearing solemn and weary, walking through the corridors or standing in the arena. Sounds that some people believe to be echoes of gladiatorial combat occasionally accompany these sightings. The Colosseum was a site of numerous executions, including those of early Christians and other prisoners who were killed in brutal ways, such as being thrown to wild beasts. Ghostly apparitions of these condemned individuals have been reported, with some stories describing spectral figures that appear to reenact their final moments. Visitors often report hearing disembodied screams and cries within the Colosseum, especially during quieter times of the day or at night. These unsettling sounds are believed to be the echoes of the thousands who died or were injured within the amphitheater. Some tales recount sightings of spectral crowds in the stands, sometimes heard cheering or jeering as if still watching the ancient games. These ghostly spectators are said to vanish when approached. A more specific story tells of the ghost of a young Roman girl who wanders the area weeping. It's said that she was the daughter of a gladiator and died of heartbreak and grief after her father was killed in the arena. Many visitors report experiencing sudden cold spots, often followed by an overwhelming feeling of dread or sadness. These sensations are usually reported in specific locations within the Colosseum, suggesting that they might be connected to particular historical events or tragedies that occurred in those spots. Visitors often speak of hearing the faint echoes of clashing swords or the agonizing screams of gladiators, even when the arena stands empty. Some have reported seeing spectral figures in ancient Roman attire, appearing briefly before vanishing into thin air. The bloody history of the Colosseum and the thousands of people who met their grisly ends there have fueled these accounts. Throughout its history, the Colosseum was the site of countless deaths, with estimates ranging from thousands to hundreds of thousands. The immense suffering and loss of life that occurred within its walls have led some to believe that the Colosseum is haunted by dark, malevolent forces.
Everything they've experienced has been a manifestation of the demonic.
The notion that the Colosseum could be haunted by dark forces emerges not only from its history of death and suffering, but also from a broader understanding of spiritual and demonic influences. This theory suggests that the intense human emotions and tragic deaths have left a permanent imprint on the fabric of the place, transforming it into a beacon for supernatural phenomena. It suggests that the intense suffering and negative energy generated by the brutal events at the Colosseum may have attracted or created a dark, demonic presence. This presence, feeding off the anguish and pain of the past, could have become deeply entrenched within the structure itself. Some paranormal investigators believe that this demonic entity may be responsible for the haunting experiences and oppressive atmosphere that many visitors report. Another theory proposes that the restless spirits of the gladiators, slaves, and victims who met their untimely deaths at the Colosseum may be trapped within its walls, unable to find peace in the afterlife. The violent and unjust nature of their deaths, combined with the sheer scale of the suffering that took place, could have created a powerful spiritual imprint that continues to haunt the ancient amphitheater. The brutal spectacles and the despair of those who died tragically were likely to have generated a vast reservoir of negative energy. Such conditions could theoretically draw in or give rise to entities that thrive on darkness and suffering. While there are numerous ghost stories and legends surrounding the Colosseum due to its violent history, there are no well-documented instances of formal exorcisms being performed within the amphitheater.
See, an exorcism can be very dangerous, not only for the victim, but for anyone in the room.
Exorcism, typically a religious procedure intended to expel evil spirits from a person or place, might seem like a conceivable response to the reputed hauntings and paranormal activities reported at such a historically charged site. However, specific accounts of such rituals at the Colosseum do not appear in mainstream historical or paranormal records. The idea of performing an exorcism at a site like the Colosseum might not align with the practices and policies of local authorities or the Vatican. Although Rome is replete with religious history and the proximity of the Vatican might suggest a likelihood of such rites, the Colosseum is primarily managed as a historical landmark and tourist attraction, not a site of religious or spiritual intervention. Additionally, the nature of the supposed hauntings at the Colosseum, often described more in terms of residual hauntings or imprints of past emotions and events rather than the presence of malevolent spirits, may not be seen as necessitating an exorcism. Residual hauntings are typically understood in paranormal circles as replays of past events, not situations where spirits interact with the living or are present in a way that would require expulsion. The emphasis in managing the Colosseum remains on preservation and education, focusing on its architectural grandeur and historical importance rather than its paranormal aspects. Today, the Roman Colosseum is a major tourist attraction, a somber reminder of Rome's power and its penchant for cruel entertainment. For those sensitive to the echoes of the past, it stands as a monument not just to Roman engineering and political might, but also to the countless souls who perished within its arched passages and sandy arena. Whether one believes in ghosts and dark forces or not, the Colosseum undeniably holds within it the heavy silence of the past, a past that whispers of both the heights and the horrors of human nature.